Hello and welcome back to our channel. I hope everybody is having an amazing day today. If you like ghost stories, adventure stories, and true crime, you're at the right place. We're going to be doing one video a week. Today, we're diving into something that's been called the largest haunted house in the world, the Winchester Mystery House. So let's get in it. Sarah Winchester was born in New Haven, Connecticut to a very well-to-do family, and it got to the age that she needed to be paired off to be married, and they called her the Belle of New Haven. She was beautiful, she spoke 4 languages, she was highly educated, she played musical instruments, and she was kind of the talk of the town. So who would be the perfect match for her but William Wirt Winchester? Isn't that a great name? William Wirt Winchester. They had gone to school together, so it wasn't a problem. They both were like excited to get married to each other, and everything was going great. They got married. He was working as treasurer for the Winchester Rifle Company. Basically, the Winchesters, if you don't already know who that family was, they had the most famous rifle in America, and they called it the gun that won the West. And every cowboy who was anybody, what is his name? Buffalo Bill, Annie Oakley, like they all used a Winchester rifle. So they were pretty wealthy, but all of this wealth was off of death. So it's kind of a two-edged sword, right? So you're a billionaire for the day, but you're making money off death. So this was kind of on Sarah's mind, kind of right from the beginning. But hey, you know, what are you gonna do? She's happy, they're having a nice time. They have a baby, her name is Annie, and just life can be better. But all of a sudden, the baby's not doing well, and just after 6 weeks, the baby passes away, which devastates them, like just absolutely devastates both of them. And they continue on, but they don't have more children. So I don't know if she could have more children or not, or if it broke their hearts, I don't know. But they continue on their life, you know, they've got a ton of money, they're doing very well, they love each other, but it was becoming something a little bit talked about, that Sarah was having a little bit of a hard time with where the money was coming from. So she was getting anxious, and she was getting a little bit stressed out, and it's just part of her personality. And, you know, it could have been the grief from the baby. It could have been just all of that death wrapped around everything. Probably just was kind of throwing her off and making her feel not so good. But she didn't let it stop her. She was living her best life with her husband. And 12 years later, his father, Oliver Winchester, passes away and leaves them the entire fortune. So now they're the richest people in America. And William passes away a year later. So now Sarah's lost her baby, her father-in-law, and her husband. And she just inherits so much money that she's the richest woman in the world. Now this is where I think life is so interesting. She's literally the richest woman in America, and she has lost everything she had, every person she had, and everyone she loved. And something that I find really sweet about her, she grieved until the day she died. She wore black until the day she died. I don't know if that was just for William, if it was for William and Annie, I don't know, but she was in mourning until the day she died. So I think there was some pretty strong love there, and she never moved on, married another person. But after his death, she goes to Europe for a couple of years, travels around. And I don't know if you know who the Freemasons are, but the Freemasons had Masonic halls all over the world, but women weren't allowed in these halls. But Sarah was very educated, very charming, and I guess in France, they were breaking the rules, and they were letting some of the women into the Masonic lodges, and guess what? Sarah was one of them. So the reason I'm telling you this is when we get to the Winchester Mystery House, it had some incredible architecture and just ornate, detailed, all kinds of European architecture, inside, outside, Egyptian, Turkish, Roman. You know, it had like not only European, it had Middle Eastern, it had Japanese. It was just like a mix mash of all kinds of architecture. And I think that's because she went to Europe and her mind got expanded, and she started just looking at all kinds of things. And the Masonic halls, let's get back to that. They just have some weird stuff in there. Okay, like I was in a Masonic youth group, and like we snuck into like, I don't know, a secret passageway, and there was some stuff in there, and I never forgot it. And I'm just like, the Masons are interesting. I love them. I love you, Masons, but they are interesting. So Sarah comes back, and she starts having nightmares, and she has nightmares, and they're not stopping. So she has to do something. So she's talking to everyone. What should she do? And somebody recommends a medium in Boston. So she goes to this medium in Boston, and the medium tells her, it's a gentleman, and apparently he was really famous. He tells her that she's cursed, and that all the people that have been killed with the rifle are coming for her. And the only way that she's going to dispel the curse is to go out west and build a house with, I think, rooms for all of these ghosts. So she has to appease the spirits by going out west and building a house for all of them to come and live. And so guess what she does? She goes out west. I mean, this is crazy. So there's two, like, everything around Sarah is a controversy. So some say that she moved out there because she had family there, because some of her family moved, a couple of her siblings and their families, after the gold rush. And then other people are like, no, stupid, she went and saw the medium and said she was cursed. She had to do something about it, otherwise she was going to die. So Sarah moves out, whoever's story is right, she does it. She goes out west and she buys a little farmhouse. This is like 8 rooms. It's not even finished, but she's like, that's okay, I want to finish it. Was she building it for the ghosts? Was she building it so that her family could live with her? We don't really know, but she started building. And building. And building. Sarah didn't stop building until the day she died, which was 38 years later. This is where all of the controversy and the ghost stories and everything is talked about, because it's not like she was just building a normal house. Sarah built, I think she built according to what was going on in her mind, like very chaotic doors that opened to nowhere, stairs that went nowhere. You would go into a little room, okay, and you would see a cabinet, and you're like, oh, I'm going to open the cabinet. You open the cabinet, but you step inside, and then it goes into the closet to the next room, and then it can continue on like that. And they had secret passageways. So this house doesn't make sense, is what I'm trying to tell you. The house doesn't make sense. It's a labyrinth. It's a labyrinth, and no one knows their way in, out, or around, and the only person who did was Sarah. And things were constantly built and torn down and built and torn down. And the rumor was 24/7, 365 days a year, for her entire life, they never stopped building. Not for a second. Because the belief is that if you stop building, she's going to die. Now, the other rumor is that, there's so many rumors. The other rumor is that she built this labyrinth so that she would confuse the ghosts. So they said she never slept in the same room, ever. Always a different room every night. Mixed in with all of these secret passageways, staircases to nowhere, drop-offs, like you would open a door, drop down, there was a skylight in the floor, and then that looked into the kitchen. You would open another door and it would be like a brick wall. So it seems like she was trying to confuse the ghosts. So no matter what, she wasn't going to stop the hammering, and she wasn't going to like sleep in the same room. She was going to get rid of those ghosts, or at least keep them at bay. So of course she builds a seance room, because why wouldn't you if you were running from ghosts? And there was a huge 7th story bell tower, and according to the neighbors, that would ring every night at midnight and then again at 2 a.m. And the belief is that she would call the ghosts, summon the ghosts. She would wear a different outfit every night, like a ghostly outfit. She would summon the ghosts with the bell. So Sarah is summoning the ghosts and then also telling them when to go, which just makes me love her so much. Like, she's a hilarious woman. So seances, she would often have spiritualists and mediums and all kinds of people to her house. And again, is she trying to talk to the ghost? Is she trying to get rid of the ghost? Is she just trying to stay alive? Like, I'm not exactly sure what she was up to, but apparently there was a lot going on there, but she didn't really leave the house. So here's this mysterious woman constantly building her house, never really leaving the house, always wears black. People were talking. People were wondering, like, what is she doing? Like, what is she up to? Why? Like, I don't know what she was up to. I'm going to read this to you because it's insane. in the end, when she died, there was 24,000 square feet. So they had built up 7 stories, but then the 1906 earthquake toppled the first few floors. And as a matter of fact, her servants, this is not nice. I always get excited and it looks like I'm enjoying it. The servants found her underneath the rubble on like the 3rd or 4th floor. So they save her. She gets like terrified by this. She's like, this is God's will. Like, I'm tearing down all those stories. So she tore down everything after the 4th floor after that earthquake. And supposedly she lived on a houseboat after that. So I don't know if that's true or not, because according to the other stories, she was still fighting ghosts till the day she died. So Sarah is a controversy. People are talking about her. It was so poor. There was a huge depression at that point. People didn't have money to eat. People didn't have jobs. They were homeless. And here's Sarah Winchester building nonstop, like for no reason, for one person. What is she doing? I think actually I think she had around 20 carpenters at a time, and she had 20-ish or more staff at a time. So actually she was creating jobs for almost 50 people. And if she was really stricken with grief, and even considering ghosts being around her at all, maybe she had those big strong men building all the time because she didn't want to be alone. And like every hour of the day, she would know that somebody's there. So I think it's just something that people haven't talked about. You know, maybe she was really lonely and maybe she liked employing the people. And apparently she was so good to her staff. Some of them lived on site. She built houses for others. The gardener supposedly lived in the seance room at one point, and that's got to be a little bit crazy. Oh, and then one of the groundskeepers, and his name's Clyde, supposedly he's still there. Supposedly he's been seen, he has this big like handlebar mustache, and he like is on the grounds and he's seen it. I watched a show with a couple of those paranormal guys, and like their reading was off the chart. So I don't know if the house is haunted or not. She had the secret passageways, they say, were for ghosts, but they also say they were for the servants. She had all the state-of-the-art, everything. She had running water, which everybody didn't, hot and cold, which most people didn't. She had a shower, which nobody had. They had just launched the shower, and so she got one. And she had rheumatoid arthritis, and so at the end of her life, she could barely lift her feet up. And so there's a staircase that has like tiny little steps, which also confuses everyone, but maybe she just wanted to be able to walk around in her own house. So Sarah is a novel. She was ahead of her time. She supposedly, if something happened to one of the neighbors, like, you know, things befall you, they would get an envelope with money in it. So I think she was actually truly a caring woman. I think she just, you know, can you imagine going through all of that death in your life, and then you have all this money, and like, what are you going to do with it? Another interesting thing she did, all of her relatives, when she died, she didn't give them money. She made a trust. I think she made like 10 or 11 trusts for each of her relatives, and they lived off the interest until the day they died, and then that money went to charity. So it's kind of interesting and cool, right? Like, she definitely thought things through. So I don't know if she was running from ghosts. I don't know if she was cursed by all the people killed by the rifle. I don't know if she was just grieving her whole life and lonely. Certainly her house is something to see. If you ever go to San Jose, California, you've got to check out the Winchester Mystery House. I plan on going sometime this year, and I just want to see if I get a vibe. You know how we get a vibe. We all get a vibe. Like, you walk in somewhere and either you feel the ghost or you don't. So I want to check it out myself. I went as a kid, but I want to check it out again and just see, like, what is that feeling? You can't spend the night there right now, apparently, but that would be cool, wouldn't it? I know some people have. So I hope you enjoyed today's ghost story. Next video, we are going to be doing 3 real-life ghost stories, back to back. One's going to be in the desert, in the Sahara. One's going to be in a jungle. And the third, I'm not sure yet. I have to find one. But it's going to be a place. So I hope you have a great afternoon, morning, evening. Until the next adventure, I look forward to spending more time with you. And don't forget to lock your door. Have a great one.